जय श्री राधे। सब वैष्णवन को हार्दिक सप्रेम सादर जय श्री कृष्णा. Kumbhan Das Ji's story number 83 from the 84 Vaishnava Varta, and we're starting today with Varta, part number Varta Prasang 15, 15th part 15th day 110. After some more time had passed, Kumbhan Das's body became weak. He sat down by the Sankarshan lake near to Anyor. Chaturbhuj Das, his son, asked him whether he would like to be carried back to Jamunavata. Kumbhan Das that he would be leaving his body within a couple of hours, and so he would like to stay right there. Chaturbhuj Das went up for the midday service in Srinathji's temple, and there Sri Gosaiji asked him where Kumbhan Das was and how he was feeling. Chaturbhuj Das told Sri Gosaiji that Kumbhan Das was sitting by the side of the Sankarshan Kund. Sri Gosaiji went to see him and inquired of him, "Which of the Lord's Leelas are you contemplating at this moment?" Kumbhan Das was not capable of standing up at that time, so he bowed to his head, mentally prostrated to Sri Gosaiji, and sang this song, Rag Saranga. The lad Krishna was milking a cow, but he forgot what he was doing. The dark enchanter's gaze transfixed itself on her incomparably beautiful moon-like face. She is a freshly youthful, lovely maiden, extraordinarily clever, full of qualities and enchantingly lovely. Her arched eyebrows have stolen away the heart of Sri Krishna, the upholder of the Sri Giriraji mountain. Again, Rag Saranga, "O lad, the glances from your eyes have stolen my heart. Now I can no longer walk the path from Varsana to Nandagaon. My heart is full, I am not afraid, but why do you have to keep looking at me in this sweet way?" The poet Kumbhan Das now writes, "You upheld the Sri Giriraj mountain, so why can you not just talk to me?" Part 15 continued. After listening to these poems, Sri Gosaiji asked of Kumbhan Das, "Please also tell me where your heart is right now." Kumbhan Das sang this song to Sri Gosaiji. A Sakhi tries to persuade Sri Radhika Ji to meet with Sri Thakurji. This enchanting Sri Krishna, upholder of the Sri Giriraj mountain, is trying so hard to get to meet you. Please give me an answer, my dear lady, that I may convey to him. When he sees you sitting by the window in your sparkling sari, his body and mind get entangled in you, and that Sri Krishna cannot pull himself away from you for even a single second. Persuaded, she asks the Sakhi, "Or which path shall I take to find him? Where is he? Please tell me." Kumbhan Das sings of his beloved Lord. He is over there, sitting in that high-up room decorated with lovely paintings. Padarag Bihagaro. Sri Radhika, embodiment of the nectar of pure love, is fully immersed in the bliss of their divine affection and playful mood. The daughter of Sri Vrishabhanu is like a golden vine wrapped around the dark tamala tree. She was always naturally engaged in the enjoyable company of this youthful Sri Krishna, who upholds the Sri Giriraj mountain. The poet Kumbhan Das now says, "When they are together, the loving essence swells through their flame." Part 15 continued. As soon as he had sung this song, Kumbhan Das left his body and entered straight into the eternal inner Leela. Sri Gosaiji came to Jetipura, and Chaturbhuj Das and all his other sons performed their father's last rites. Kumbhan Das's door into Sri Giriraji, through which he entered the Leela, is close to Anyor. Sri Gosaiji completed the Lord's services from afternoon to the evening, but he did so without speaking to anyone, and appeared very saddened. Ramdas asked him why he was so. He said, "Such a wonderful Vaishnava has left this earth, and there are very few devotees left in this world." In this way, Sri Gosaiji praised Kumbhan Das, who was a mighty recipient of Sri Acharyaji's grace, and a truly accomplished Vaishnava. Sri Govardhanaji and Sri Gosaiji were always pleased with him. There is no end to his indescribable story. Thus concludes Varta 83, the story of Kumbhan Das, a Gaurava Kshatriya from Jamunavata, although really there is no end to his story. Varta 84, the story of Krishna Das, the manager, one of the Ashtachar poets. In the eternal Leela, this Krishna Das is Rishabh Sakha, Sri Thakurji's very close friend. During the daytime, then, he is Rishabh Sakha, and in the nighttime Leelas, he is a very dear Sakhi of Sri Lalitaji. Sri Lalitaji has 4 forms, one of which is Krishna Das, all of whom experience the Lord, and Sri Swaminiji's most personal leelas in the forest bowers. First is her nighttime form as described. Second is Rishabh Saka, who goes out to the forest in the daytime and enjoys those leelas with Sri Thakurji and the cows. Third is Sri Damodar Das Harasani, who is always by Sri Acharyaji's side. Sri Acharyaji calls him Damala. All of their leelas have been written in detail in Damodar Das's own Varta. Her 4th form is this Krishna Das. He lived close to Sri Govardhandar and was the manager of his temple. There are 8 doors into Sri Giriraji. Krishna Das is in charge of the door at Bilchu Kund, which faces the town of Barsana, and the route that Sri Krishna takes when he goes to play the Ras Leela. Krishna Das was born in a village named Chilotra in Gujarat to a family of farmers, considered labouring class. His father was the chief of that village and the official administrator for the local government. When the boy was born to him, Krishna Das's father called many Brahmins from nearby villages and, bringing them together, asked them to predict what his son's qualities and future would be. He cajoled them with an offer of lifetime financial support if they made a correct prediction. They all replied, "It makes no difference if you reward us or not. Your son will be a devotee of the Lord. His name will be Krishna Das, and he will not live at home with you." The Patel farmer felt sad to hear this. Anyway, he distributed lots of wealth and had the boy named Krishna Das. Krishna Das was interested in the stories of the Lord's pastimes from as soon as he reached 5 years old. If his parents tried to stop him from going to listen, he would start to cry and refuse to eat. The parents decided it was best to just let him go, for he was already becoming a renounced and would no doubt grow up to be a renunciate. The Brahmins already predicted this, and so we should not become too attached to him. He will bring us grief. Krishna Das was then free to go to listen to recitations of the Lord's glories all over the place. He passed his time like this and soon reached the age of 13 years. Once, a travelling tinker camped outside Chilotra village and made 14,000 rupees from the goods that he sold. That night, Krishna Das's father hired a thief to steal all the money from him. He gave the thief 1,000 and kept 13,000 for himself. Krishna Das found out about this and told his father he had done a great wrong to steal that Banjara's money. He told his father it would be much better for him if he gave it back. He gave Krishna Das a beating and ordered him not to tell anyone about this. "I am the governor of this village, and governors can behave like this." Krishna Das warned him that no good would come of this all, and then kept quiet. In the morning, the tinker came crying to the platform under the tree. He told Krishna Das's father that all his money had been stolen. Krishna Das's father asked him why he had not stayed within the village boundaries. "You did not, and so now what can we do about it?" He told his men to send the Banjara packing out of the village, saying, "He has been sitting here moaning since the early morning." The men threw the Banjara out. He had lost every penny, and so was very upset. Krishna Das came running from where he had been sitting and got close to the Banjara. He thought, "So what if my father meets a bad fate? This Banjara traveller deserves some support." Krishna Das told the Banjara to go and sit somewhere secret, and that he would suggest something to him. When he was thus seated in a secret place, Krishna Das told him that it was his father, the village chieftain, who had stolen the money, and that he had given 1,000 to the thieves and kept the rest for himself. "You cannot really stay here now," he advised. "Go to Rajnagar, Ahmedabad, and report to the king there. I will stand as a witness in your case. Please make sure, however, that my father and the thieves do not lose their lives, but that you also benefit. When you have arranged in this way, I will tell the whole story to the king. In this way you will be able to retrieve all your money." Then the salesman went to Rajnagar and told the king there everything that had happened. "The Hakim stole the money and his son told me all about it. However, I do not want anyone else to lose their life over this affair. I would just like to get my money back." The king spoke. "Praise be to that son who reports his father's thievery. I will give him a job." He then got 50 of his men, including soldiers, and sent them to Chilotra village and to capture the Hakim and his son. "Go secretly," he said, "so that no one notices your arrival." The 50 men went there. When they arrived, it was evening, and the Hakim and his son were both standing at their gate. The king's men took the Hakim back to Rajnagar. The king addressed him. "You are in charge of this village, but you stole from the visiting salesman. Return this Banjara's money immediately." The Hakim answered, "Someone must have told you a lie. I know nothing of this incident." The king said, To Krishnadas, tell the truth. Krishnadas spoke up. My father is nothing but an embodied soul. He made a mistake. He did give 1,000 rupees to the thieves and kept 13,000 for himself. I told my father at that time that he should not do this, but he took no notice, and so he is suffering the result of those actions. Please take the goods back, but do not punish him. The king spoke to Krishnadas's father. You had better tell the truth now, or I shall be forced to take your life. Krishnadas's father spoke up. Yes, I have done a very bad thing, but let the Banjara come with me to my home, and I shall return his money right now. The king sent 200 of his men to take the Hakim and the salesman home, and the king requested Krishnadas to stay there with him because he was impressed with his honesty. Krishnadas piped up. If you keep me here, what will you do with me? I will always tell the truth, and I will become very unpopular. The world is like that nowadays. I will become a renunciate. I am no longer any use to my father. The king tried many ways to persuade Krishnadas to stay there, but Krishnadas would not stay there. He came home with his father. In front of the boy, the Hakim called the thief and told them to return the 1,000 rupees. If you don't, the king will end your lives. The thieves returned the 1,000 rupees, and the Hakim fetched the other 13,000 from his stash at home and gave the full 14,000 rupees to the Banjara salesman. Some other stuff had also been stolen. He also returned that as well. He then sent him home. The king appointed a new Hakim for Tilotra village. See what a stupid boy you have been, his father said to Krishnadas. I have lost my job and all the money too. Krishnadas reminded him that although he had done such a bad act as to lose him all respect from the world and to take away his passage to heaven, he still had his life. Longer the Hakim, that is not a bad thing. By being the Hakim, you would have accumulated even more bad fate to suffer, the father announced. The father replied, in this life you are destined to be a holy renunciate. And so you want me to become one as well? If you keep me at home, you will too become a wandering mendicant. Let me go. The father retorted, take some money from here and get lost, go far away so I cannot see you nor suffer any grief because of you. Krishnadas got up and respectfully bid his father farewell. He decided to visit all the holy spots within Vraja. A few days later he arrived in Mathura. He bathed on the Vishram Ghat in Mathura and then set off on his journey. As he was touring the round, he came to Sri Govardhan. He heard that a temple had been built, Sri Govardhandar, and that in a few days he would be brought into the temple and the Brajvasis would be blissed out. Since he appeared as Dev Daman from the Sri Giriraj mountain, everyone was expecting great joy. He satisfied everyone's heart's desires. Krishnadas decided that he would also like to have the Lord's holy site. That is what he did. At that time, Sri Acharyaji was performing the waving of the lamp ceremony after the lunchtime service. Sri Govardhandar stole away Krishnadas's heart. Sri Govardhandar was staring at Krishnadas. Afterwards he said to Sri Acharyaji, Krishnadas has come. He has been separated from me for a very long time. I am looking at him. Sri Acharyaji then called Krishnadas to him and said, O Krishnadas, you have come? Krishnadas bowed down to him and replied, yes, I have come, but only with your blessings. Therefore, please now keep me in your shelter. Sri Acharyaji told him to go and quickly bathe and come back because Sri Govardhanaji was looking at him. Come soon, he bade. Krishnadas ran to Rudrakund and bathed. He came to Sri Acharyaji in the temple. Sri Acharyaji then initiated Krishnadas in front of Govardhanaji with his name and Brahma Sambandha. Krishnadas is a divine soul, and so he immediately began to experience the Lord directly. He composed a song and began to sing Rag Saranga. Know Sri Vallabh to be the uplifter of the fallen souls. As soon as they take shelter in him, the Lord reveals his pastimes, and the Lord Sri Govardhanaji stays close to an end, blesses them. Stays close to and blesses them. Those who don't know Sri Acharyaji's true form spend their days wasting their time on various fruitless disciplines. His glance alone, says the poet Krishnadas, perfects the reward of all past, present and future births. Sri Acharyaji was very pleased to hear this song from Krishnadas. Sri Acharyaji then completed the Lord's morning Seva, and the Lord took rest. Soon after, Sri Govardhanaji's new temple building was completed, and on the auspicious day of Akshaya Tritiya, his presence and Seva were established there. Vaishakha month, third day of the bright half. the Vaishnava Puranmal arranged the celebrations on that day. Sri Acharyaji called Sadhu Pandey to him and said, "Now the Lord has a big temple, so why do we have to have... So we need some people to serve in it. Will you do this?" Sadhu Pandey replied, "Oh Maharaj, I am a Brajwasi and understand nothing of the formal ways of Seva. I also have a lot of work at home. If you don't mind, why not ask the Bengalis who live at Radhakund and spend all day chanting the Lord's name?" Sri Acharyaji asked him to invite them over. He brought about 25 of them and built huts for them to live in near Rudrakund, then gave them the Seva of Shri Govardhan Naji. He also gave Krishnadas the job of treasurer, who would have to go far and wide collecting donations and then bring those funds to the Bengalis from which they would perform the Seva. Sri Acharyaji taught the Bengalis the ways of Seva and left them to it. Krishnadas would bring funds from his travels and hand them over. When the new temple was completed, this was the time when Ramdas Chauhan left his body and entered the eternal Leela. The Bengalis were in sole charge of the Seva. Just concludes our reading for today, day 110. Jai Shri Krishna, Sab Vaishnavan ko Jai Shri Krishna, and Jai Jai Shri Radhe.